Normal tone. So, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's begin. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people all over the world. Welcome to episode 1 of whatever this is going to be called in the end. AKA working title. So, everybody, basically, I would like to start discussing and promoting the idea of happiness and helping individuals find their happiness and increase their happiness in their lives. So that is, in essence, the nature and purpose of this particular podcast. Working title at the moment is A Dope Release or Manifest Your Happiness or something along those lines. But anyway, I have some good people around me because I've always tried to surround myself with good people to increase my happiness. You see what I did there? And so let's go around and everyone can introduce themselves however they wish to.
Hi, I'm Vernon.
That was a bit boring.
Sorry. Hi, you cut that bit out. Yeah? Hi, I'm Vernon. I'm a friend of Banji's for a long time now, and I work in politics and lobbying. And it's been an interesting time in recent months for people's happiness because the government's been telling us everything we can and cannot do.
Isn't it?
Hi, I'm Dylan. I'm Vernon's brother. Haven't known Banji quite as long as Vernon, but know he's a good guy and he's increasing my happiness. And I'm a sports coach, which has also been pretty much cancelled for the past 4 months, other than the football starting to come back, and that definitely affects your happiness.
John, and I gave Banji this idea.
And it's made me happy. So John has been a major part of happiness in my life.
He gave you the idea for happiness.
Always will be.
Just to give a bit of context to this group, we all went to the same school, literally, and okay, you can say we kind of grew up around each other, you know, not just the fact that we all went to the same school, etc., but we've all been involved in each other's lives for a long time. So this should be very candid, you know, express yourselves as freely as you wish. You know, if there's anything you don't want, you know, any sort of details, if you're telling a story about something or whatever, if you want to leave out certain details, blah, blah, you know, the choice is yours, basically, you know, share what you wish to share. But anyway, let's kick this off. So I found 5 questions on a website called Lifehack, and which I thought would be a pretty good place to start from. So first things first, let's begin with, what do I enjoy about this moment? Okay, so it's not just, you know, what do I enjoy about today, or what do I enjoy about these friends, or where I live, but this, you know, let's boil it down to this moment. I think life we forget very easily because of the momentum and the grind and all that nonsense to kind of take life actually a moment at a time, because every moment is a new moment. You've literally changed from the previous moment that you were. So what do I enjoy about this moment? Who wants to kick it off?
I'll start. I think the thing I enjoy about the moment and every moment, even if it isn't a good one, is that it will never be the same moment again. And because of that, you got to appreciate it, whether it's good or bad. And I think thinking like that makes me try to be more happy in every moment, no matter what's going on.
Nice. I quite like that, because I think that's very important in terms of if you are going through something negative or you're experiencing something negative or whatever, is kind of remembering that this won't last. You know, this can improve or this can get better. And I think that's a very vital thing for people to kind of try and remember and focus on at these times. Yeah. Anyone else?
I don't know. Words are taken away from me, really. I mean, Dylan's been so on point, really.
Let me chime in then while you're thinking. What I'm enjoying about this moment is the fact that there is human interaction again. Which I think, something that I heard yesterday, which was someone said that 2020 is the best year ever. All right, so let me throw that out to you guys. If I was to say to you, you know what, I think 2020, in my almost 40 years of being alive, is actually the best year ever. What would you think to that? How would you respond to that?
Yeah, I'd just be like, wow, tell me how that's possible. And I'd be all ears.
Okay, so then I would follow that up with saying 2020 is going to be potentially, I mean, we don't know what the future holds, but potentially the most unforgettable year that there has been, let's say, in 100 years, because every other year, in essence, actually kind of feels the same, really and truly. You might have certain highlight moments, or certain things that might have happened, and but overall, after 5 years, after 10 years, every year kind of, in essence, feels the same. 2020 is a year that will be completely unforgettable.
I think that going on that, I can understand if you're saying it like that, why it would be the best year ever of our lifetimes anyway, because it's definitely a game-changing year. And if you're someone who's like maybe tired of how you can actually see things changing up, whether that's like even looking at the news, like there's always this throughout this whole year been stories that are changing the world, whether it's Black Lives Matter or whatever it is. And I think you can take some positives out of stuff like that.
I love history, so I guess I would challenge what you've said a little, because it seems like that to us now, but every generation thinks that, don't they? Like whether it's 9/11 or 1945 or 1939, there's always something you can hang your hat on and says that defines our generation. That was the most important thing that happened in my life. But as Shirley Bassey said, it's all just a bit of history repeating, really, because coming back to
I prefer if you sang it.
yeah.
Shirley Bassey didn't say it like that.
I don't have the range.
Diamonds are forever. Anyway.
But coming back to happiness, and that's important because you can only have happiness if you have unhappiness, right? As a guy we all know and love from his old sort of proto podcast, Alan Watts, on YouTube, you can only reach the mountain of happiness if you know the valley of sadness, because otherwise you're just at a level all the time. If you're always happy, you don't know that's happiness. If you're always unhappy, and that's why they say when you're torturing someone, you have to be very careful, because if you torture someone past the point where they can't remember the difference of life before torture, your techniques, whatever you do to them, don't have any impact. So at the moment
Such a dark term.
No,
by the way, can I just confirm, because Vernon did say he worked in politics, he's not conservative. Yeah. I just wanted
but I'm going to bring it back now. I'm going to bring it back because this year has been extremely tough, and on so many people, and it's been torturous for so many people, trapped in circumstances that they, especially the vulnerable and the ill and the people that have no access to outside world or friends or anything. So that's torture. But that means when this moment does end for them, then their happiness, as you say, Banji, of seeing people again, will be a brilliant form of happiness, because it's just been on ice.
So their happiness level before, after this period of madness that we're going through, their happiness level will be higher than it previously would have been, in essence. But that, to me, that kind of reaffirms my point of 2020 potentially being the best year ever, because, like, for example, 9/11 didn't quite have the same kind of global impact as 2020. 2020 has literally had a global impact. Practically every country in the world, even Sweden, who didn't have a lockdown, but they keep getting held in a certain regard of like, well, they didn't have a lockdown and they have certain numbers and blah blah. But regardless, global impact, without a shadow of a doubt, has come upon us this year, and because of that, most might be a bit, I don't know, a bit hyperbolic to say, but so many people on this planet this year will be reassessing their life and the meaning in their life, and what is my life actually about. Do you see what I'm saying?
Maybe, but not all. I mean,
definitely not every person, but that's why. But because of the global impact,
right.
So 9/11, I feel like
9/11 was worse than Corona if you were Afghani, if you were Iraqi, if you were Yemen, like if you were in the Middle East.
Yeah.
that shit's still going on. The global war on terror has had a horrible impact on those areas, and you can't. 9/11 was at the beginning, but it's the hook, right? Whereas for us in the Western world, it's the first time we haven't seen like toilet paper in the shops, right? So that feels global and like here right now in a way 9/11 never could, because we made sure the wars happened not here, despite the odd terrorist attack which we can prevent. So it is subjective.
I would.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I challenge those two statements right off the bat. I'd say you're putting too much placement on what is happening in the global world. Like, you're saying this is the best year ever because of a global circumstance, and too many people are basing their whole lives around what is going on globally and using that to excuse their happiness, their sadness, whatever. But really, it shouldn't affect you too much in terms of how you feel about your own happiness. So there's no way I would sit back and say this is the best year ever. Yes, it might be the year that the global situation has affected me more than ever, and it's fascinating and it's different, but I can't use that to say this is the best year ever, because of that puts no like emphasis on my own life and how I feel and how I've felt about other years. So, and I feel there's a lot of that. I feel people have, and I say people, I mean all of us, myself included, pigeonholed themselves into reacting to a global state that we can't do too much about. And this is an interesting scenario because it definitely has affected us. Usually we hear things and it sounds bad or it sounds good, but nothing actually changes. This one, yes, it's giving you a chance. It's had a direct impact because you have been locked down. You've actually been forced to change your life in some way. But to say that's a reason for it to be a great year doesn't really make sense to me. A great year is a great year because you've made it a great year, and there's no way whatever happens from this, I will say this is the great year just because this has happened.
But again, I feel like that reaffirms my point because there's been such a global impact. So, like I said, most individuals actually have an opportunity to assess their individual context in this planet, on this planet, in their world, in their community.
But that's not necessarily a good thing. What if they were very content with how it was before? Like, you don't need to keep reassessing.
True. So for that individual, surely then not much has changed.
Interestingly, we all nodded when you said that because we are all reassessing because everyone is very unhappy. So I guess that's why this is coming around as a potential positive. It's a reflection on how unhappy people are. And I don't know if people are more unhappy now than ever, but it's certainly talked about more.
Definitely. Mental health is, talked about more, is kind of promoted more to be acceptable to talk about because, I mean, we, like, everyone in this conversation right now is in essence a millennial, basically, isn't it? We're all in pretty much the same age range and whatever. So I feel like what has been enabled.
Are you happy that this has happened? Do you think this will mean this will be the best year?
I feel like I have been put in as I'm in a situation personally where I am able to invest my energy in certain directions that I didn't necessarily feel I could direct them in, or at least I didn't feel like I had the time or the resources or and mostly time. I think time is something that a lot of people have reflected on seriously in this period over the last few months. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's time as in what am I going to do for this 24 hours of being in lockdown, or what have I been doing for the last however many years I've been alive? You know what I mean?
My grid, yeah. I've got a grid up on the thing here to make sure I'm using the time, because time is saying it's closer than ever. You can actually hear the clock ticking now. But
that's why I made the point that we are millennials as well.
It's hard to know when yesterday was or when last month was, because every day is basically the same.
So then it kind of becomes incumbent on you to delineate those days, to make a difference, to do something where whatever it is. Okay, I'm going to go to a new part of London that I've never, or walk to a new part of my area that I've never walked down before.
I don't think there's, at least for me, I don't think there's enough at the moment. Or we're getting better because things are opening up out of lockdown, obviously. but to make your days different, at least for me, with a lot of time, and I'm not working, but I'm going back to work, which will help that. Because for me, one of the things I enjoy most about my day is the unpredictability. You don't know what's going to happen sometimes. Whereas when you have so much time that you've had over the past 3 or 4 months, and at first there was like, I started learning Spanish, started doing this. I had all these things in my day to break it up to make it a bit more enjoyable. But then when you know what you're going to do every day, and then you know the next day you're going to do probably something similar, and even if you change it, you know what you're going to do. There's no unpredictability about it. It becomes a bit boring, and yeah, I think the newness to life makes you more happy.
And predictability is an important word there, because unpredictable means something could happen which is good or bad, right?
Yeah.
So it could make you more happy, it could make you less happy in a normal world, right? And as someone, I can't remember who said it, but if you can predict every single thing that happens for the rest of your life, or most of it, the vast majority, then you're already basically dead, because you know exactly how the story plays out. Which is why you need to be happy and unhappy. And the idea that you can just be happy is like a wild goose chase.
Exactly. It's like it's come back to what you said, the Alan Watts thing about the mountains and the valleys. Like I know pretty much what's going to happen for the next week in terms of what I'm doing with my days. And you might have known that before, but you didn't know the intricacies of it. Because of the different interactions you have with different people that go on, and all of a sudden you might meet someone and you'd be like, oh, we're going out later today, I didn't have that planned, or oh, I'm doing this now. And because you know what's going on, it's just very flat, everything, rather than ups and downs. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Also, there's a lot of people are probably feeling quite high in spirits in a weird way, despite the lockdown, despite everything that's happening, because they've been freed from something that made them so unhappy. But
Interesting.
It's temporary. These systems will bite back, and they've still got their teeth in you, if that makes sense. So it's not a true happiness. You know, it's fine to suddenly have that weight lifted off your shoulders, but that's not bringing you happiness. Happiness is something to pursue, and it will not be any easier post this than it was before. I guess some people may. It's different ways of looking at it. Some people's work has been so stressful. I can just look at so many people, and they've lost a sense of themselves over the last 10 years just from the stress of work. And it will be interesting to see whether they return to that in exactly the same form, or whether they really might sit back and think, no, this isn't for me. A lot of people have been made to work harder in this period than ever. So we got a very, very different outlooks from different sets of people. I know people that are putting in more time than ever. I don't know what they'll be like when they go back. There will be so many different reactions to this, and I certainly knew when things started to open up, I didn't get this overwhelming feeling of joy. I was almost like, oh, I don't really know what to do now. I'm supposed to now accept things are back to normal, but I don't feel normal. So it's all very interesting. It's all very emotional. Will it lead to happiness? That's a big question.
Well, let's end this section with that question hanging in the air then. I quite like that. Thank you guys for expressing yourselves. At the start of this, I said there's going to be 5 questions, but I'm going to split this into different parts. So that was the end of the first one. First question and very first episode of whatever the hell this is going to turn into. So thank you guys for listening, and tune in for the second question in the next clip. Peace.